Today on the DudeFax podcast, we have a special guest. As a member of the sports media, he's going to have, I'm sure, great insight as we discuss Christians in sports. And we'll look at ideas of how to share the gospel in our sports-loving culture. You don't want to miss this. It's coming up next on the DudeFax podcast.
Welcome to the DudeFax podcast. We're four guys who in the past all served in the same youth ministry together. Now, more than 10 years later, 10 years older, but not really 10 years more mature, we felt it was time to join forces once again. So now we create weekly podcasts dealing with pop culture, ministry, and church life, and mixed all throughout is a healthy dose of the humor you would only expect from old youth pastors. So if you love Jesus, the local church, and laughter, you're going to fit right in. We encourage you to sit back, relax, grab an ice cold Dr. Pepper, and enjoy this week's episode of the DudeFax podcast.
Welcome to the DudeFax podcast. I am joined by Ryan, Grant, and Josh. However, today we want to welcome the voice of the Governor Sports Network, ESPN Clarksville. If you listen to Austin Peay football, basketball, baseball, the coaches show, this is the guy, Ryan Rives. Ryan, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, glad to be with you guys.
Yeah, this is exciting. We have like a
golf clap,
like a professional guest.
Yeah,
well, like you still haven't, but I'm here, so I'm glad to have you. And let me start by wishing all of you a happy podcast birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I did bring gifts.
All right.
Ooh,
this is exciting.
Gifts.
So I don't know why the sponsorship hasn't happened yet. You guys should have this already, but I wanted to make sure I came through with the dude light.
Yeah.
Happy podcast birthday to all of you.
It's perfect timing because I ran out from Christmas. So.
Ryan needs a break. So practice.
We
so
still
if Ryan disappears.
I will say I am on the way to joining Grant in the bidet club. So
Really?
Yes, sir.
You're halfway through the day?
my wife is very interested in purchasing a bidet.
Oh, my bidet's undefeated. Its record is spotless.
It can handle everything you've given to it?
Everything I've dropped at it, near it.
When Ryan gets his set up, I think we should compare bidets.
A bidet off.
Live competition.
I think we have to ask the question that's on everybody's mind. Brian, do you have a bidet?
I do not have a bidet.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you video that, if that puts you in a different podcast category.
If you video it, yes, it does.
We might have to start putting these on a different website if we do that.
No longer safe. All right. So we do want to talk to Brian about other things.
Oh, yes, we can.
We want to give you listeners an idea of where we're going to go today. We're going to talk about Christians in sports, their influence, and specifically Brian and his role, what he's seen from players, coaches, and others that he's been encouraged by. And then later on, we're going to talk about the impact of sports, specifically on our culture, and how we could strategically use that for the gospel. But before we get into all of that, Brian, will you tell us a little bit more about your role at Austin Peay as the voice of the Governor?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I took over doing coaches shows in the middle 2000s. Got lucky enough to get in and host football coaches shows and women's basketball coaches shows, and then ultimately the men's basketball coaches show with great coaches, great influences in there. I took over doing football heading into 2024. This will be my 10th season as the voice of the football governors. I'm currently in my 6th season as the voice of the basketball govs. And then I fill in on baseball at time to time. It's not a full-time role. Van Stokes, the gentleman who does that, has done that for years. When something else keeps him from getting behind the mic, I pop in and do baseball. But I tried to be a college athlete. I graduated high school here locally and went to Middle Tennessee for 2 years. Played for Coach Donnelly for a year.
Okay.
The second year, I had way too much fun and had a lot of growing up to do, so lost my privilege of playing college athletics. Came back and finished up at Austin Peay, and had always wanted to stay in the athletic world at some point or some form. My best friend in the world volunteered us to call high school football games when he became a teacher in Stewart County. Had never been behind the microphone a day in my life, had no formal training. My college education is in psychology and sociology. And so one Friday night, we show up at Stewart County High School and call a high school football game, and we called the play, and then we sat there, just dead air. And then the next play would happen, and we'd call the play, and then we sat there, and we were absolutely horrible. But something that day sparked me and just wanted me to work, and so I sought out, learning tools. I listened to as many other broadcasters as I could, whether they were on the high school level, the college level, the pro level. I'll still to this day watch a Titans game with the TV down to listen to Mike Keith and that group, or same thing with college. I through my high school years, I never heard a Tennessee game unless it was John Ward on the radio playing over the television. So just drawing and pulling and slowly getting better, slowly working and slowly getting, I guess, some folks that appreciated the craft that I put out there and had opportunity with Austin Peay and some local radio stations. And now I'm head first. And again, if there's something that tips off or kicks off at Austin Peay, I'm usually there on the microphone for it.
I do have a question. Have you figured out a way to align the radio broadcast with the TV broadcast?
So, yes.
Oh, really?
Usually now it is through everything's streamed. It was much harder when it was live television. When you were watching, the Jefferson Pilot Southeastern Conference game of the week on a Saturday morning. It was very hard to line those up. Now with streaming and with pulling in on either iHeartRadio or Spotify or Tunes or however you're pulling your audio, you can pause and kind of marry up. It's a dance.
Yeah.
But if you want it done, you can get it done.
Yeah. My question was really, what's the easy way to line those two up?
There is,
but there isn't. Okay. All right.
You gotta want to have it.
Yeah, I'm like you. I'd much rather listen to Mike Keith during a Titans game than the commentators on TV.
I've always appreciated the radio aspect because television, and I've done some television, and it's very hard. Because television, you have the picture. There's no lying in television. They see it. You can't cover it up. To me, I always equate radio to a coloring book. Everyone knows what the field looks like. Everyone knows what the basketball court looks like. They may have an idea what the basic picture is. My job on radio is to color that picture in, to tell you where they are in position on that picture, to tell you what the uniforms look like, to tell you how big the crowd is or how loud or how soft, to put everything in other than just the basics. Well, on television, that's all there for you. You're really stat driven. You're really backstory driven. Where radio, again, I think it's just more of a coloring in and a feathering in of what they need to see and what they need to hear to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So I see you're wearing an I Am Second band there.
Yes.
Great website and awesome testimonies are on that website. So tell us a little bit about your faith, your background there.
I was born here in Clarksville. I was raised in the Methodist tradition, which means I had a new pastor every 3 years before the Methodist church works. I'll admit, got away from church late middle high school years, early college years. Was the rambunctious teenager that went out and explored everything you could explore and got away from my traditions and my basics. I was raised by a great Christian set of parents. Had both grandparents when I was younger, alive and well, and they weren't church-going Christians, but they were Christian in action. And that's a verse that I always remember, and it comes from I think it's 1 James. And forgive me, I'm not a Bible scholar, so I'm not going to be able to quote verse and chapter. But it's always faith through action, not just words. And again, I'm going to butcher it if I try to say it, but that's how I was always raised. Yes, we still attend church. Yes, my family, and I have 2 children, and I make it a point to make sure that they are involved. Once I came back into faith, it's really from my wife. When I met my wife at Austin Peay, she was playing piano for church. So, if I wanted to have a date for lunch on a Sunday, I had to go to church with her and sit out in the crowd while she sang with the choir, and I mumbled watermelon and pretended to sing along because I can't carry a tune in a bucket. But that's really what got me back. And I credit my wife for our faith, our family's foundation in faith as well. When we first got married, we bounced around and church visited, and I won't say church shopped. I hate that term, but we wanted to find somewhere that fit for us after she was done playing piano where we were. And we found a home back in the Methodist church for a while, and Then when my children got older, that church just didn't fit them because the age and the demographic of the church wasn't young enough. There was enough activities for them. So we have found a home at the Bridge and then been very happy. And more importantly, my children have been very active and very, I will say, challenged and involved. They've been involved with youth group. They've been involved with the activities going on there, but they've also been challenged in their faith to be more, I won't say demonstrative, but I mean to recognize that what that feeling is and what that calling is faith. You know, you may not have known exactly what it was, but when you get that push, when you get that feeling, when you get that pull, that's faith, and that's faith becoming action and not just the words.
That's cool.
Praise God, and you're still going to the Bridge even though Josh works.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hard part of this time of year. You know, football is very easy. It's on a Saturday. Unless you're traveling or flying, you can get back on some basketball trips. I spent many a Sunday morning at an airport just trying to get back home after a Saturday night game. So, my attendance is not as regular as it should be, and Josh will probably vouch for that as well. But
Yeah, we keep track.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right.
So you actually did say something very scary to us on Saturday, which thank you for the tickets, by the way.
Yeah.
The awesome
Yeah.
action. But you said that
Yeah, it was
when you're
great.
traveling and doing that,
Great time.
the DudeFax podcast
Loved
was
it.
like church for you.
It is.
And that's really intimidating because now we
No, it's not
step up
intimidating.
our game.
Here's and this is not just
Bless you.
lost or flossed while I'm with you guys tonight, but I've always appreciated religion that can come to me at my level. You know, I can't, just honest and true. I can't sit through fire and brimstone. That's how I was raised, and I think that's kind of what pushed me away because that just wasn't the way I was built and the way I was, receiving information. And I played football for fire and brimstone football coaches. I didn't want that on Sunday morning too.
Sure.
So I sought out different avenues. You guys bring me the message and get me to make me think more than anything, in a manner and in a way that's more receptive and more of the way I would appreciate it. Chad on a Sunday morning for us is conversational instead of talking down or to. And that's how I appreciate it. And that's why I appreciate listening to you guys.
We've been told we make other people think, but just because they say we don't. So they feel like, let me think this out for you. That is a compliment. Thank you for sharing that. Because our heart on the podcast, and then Jeff, I'll get right back to you, has been not just to be silly and have fun, but we want that. We don't. Yeah, Grant, by the way.
Grant has a pickle.
Yeah, Grant really enjoyed the basketball game. I think Grant, the body paint was a great touch. That was I didn't expect that.
We do need
The
to
Yeah, when we
shrieking
said we were
was a
painting our
little
bodies, I asked upper or lower halves. No one answered. Thanks,
A
friends.
lot of dude wipes to get that.
Yeah. Just send the pickle. We'll take him to a game. But I want to say, our heart is to have a lot of fun, tell a lot of jokes, and use humor to communicate the truth of the gospel. And we don't want to sacrifice either one of those. So when we hear from somebody that, hey, it's made an impact, and I love listening to you, not just because it's silly and you give me laughs, but at least there's some substance there somewhere.
And you go back to
That's encouraging.
with you guys, I go back to the beginning when you hit topics like pornography and alcohol. And then over the last couple of weeks, there was almost a point where when you were discussing the He Gets Us commercial from the Super Bowl, and I will probably talk a little bit about that, that I could have pushed paused or called in and had that conversation with you too, because that's exactly what it does. It sparks conversation in my mind as to, okay, how do I approach that, not only with me, but how do I approach that with two children that I'm trying to raise up in the faith and to continue that and to show that in their way. I've never been one to push it on them, but I always want to open the door and make sure those conversations happen, and they do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, I love the conversation already, and we're going to continue this. But before we get too deep in conversation, so you're an Austin Peay alumnus.
I am.
As we talked, Ryan is as well.
Mm.
I am as well. Grant,
I am not.
1 year.
1 year.
Josh, even though he's repping the Peay right now, is not.
Hey, I'll root for any team that says "Let's go Peay" as their cheer.
Josh also has has on the most popular hat in Austin Peay history.
Let me tell you.
There's a long story behind that hat, let me tell you.
I get compliments often. I was just telling somebody yesterday, they're like, where can I get that hat? I'm like, you got to know people.
If the football program could have mass produced those after that Tennessee game for those couple of weeks, they could have probably paid for their entire bill for the year.
It's a sweet hat.
Well, we want to play a little game with some Austin Peay trivia, and we're going to call this game Peay or Please. So Peay is basically true. Please is false. So I'll say some statements, and if it's true, then you'll say Peay. If it's false, then you'll say please. I think most of these...
Please, Crackle.
Most of these are cupcakes.
All right, I'll mark that so we can soundbite it.
But here we go. Number one, Austin Peay was actually named for a former governor of Tennessee named Austin Peay.
I know this, so I'll let you guys go first.
Sure. I don't have
Peay.
Peay,
Right?
Yeah.
That means yes, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can tell you he had a family member that graduated probably within the last 5 years as a fifth generation removed. So that family's still active and involved in attending Austin Peay.
Oh, really?
A fifth generation Peay.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that next to the Clarksville courthouse, there's a Tennessee historical sign that talks about Austin. I believe so. About the governor, yeah.
Well, number two, in addition to the awesome chant, Let's Go Peay, the Governors had a basketball player in the 70s named James Fly Williams, and fans would often chant, "The fly is open, let's go Peay."
I feel like that's a trick question. 'Cause I was told it was a running back.
Nope.
Like I've heard that from
No.
James
basketball
was
player.
Fly was a basketball player in the late 70s. They a lot of folks around this area called the Dunn Center the house that Fly built because of the crowds he would put into the old red barn. And they had to accommodate and built the Dunn Center, now F&M Bank Arena. So we kind of jokingly call that the house that Terry Taylor built. That's another story. No, James Fly Williams.
Yeah, so he's one of the legends. So when I went, Bubba Wells
Yes.
was playing. I got to see his last year. And then, of course, Trenton. I went to high school with Trenton. And then Austin Peay with Trenton.
Jeff played. Didn't you play on the same team with Trenton
I
in
did
high
for
school,
a
though?
while.
Trenton and Sean. I wish Sean still claimed Clarksville as his hometown. So just went into the Phoenix Suns Hall of Fame, but he claims Chicago, Illinois as his hometown instead of Clarksville. But
Well, I don't mind telling the story I've told about him then, if he's not claiming. Have you heard my Sean Marion story?
I don't know that I have.
Basically, he's in the NBA because he graduated high school because he passed geometry because I sat behind him and he cheated off me.
Wait,
So you
you
got, like,
sat
a-
behind him?
See?
Well, on behalf of UNLV and the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks, we
It all comes back to the 931. That's right.
Yeah, as a Dallas Mavericks fan, I keep
Yes,
it.
that's too. I'm a nice fan.
His one championship.
Yep.
That's
He
right.
still lives in that city.
Oh, does he? Oh, okay.
Hey, before you go on, please tell me Fly was a white guy.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, sir.
No.
What? He's not pretty fly for a white guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
It would have been fun.
please.
All right, this
Wasn't
next
fly.
question. This is a good one. Austin Peay actually has a class called English 183s. Taylor Swift and Her World.
I want that to be true because
I
I
do
would
too.
I would audit that class.
I think that is true.
183?
183s.
I honestly don't know. I know there are honors classes that focus in different areas. Like my son just took the history of basketball. And Coach Dave Luce was his teacher
Oh, that's
for a semester.
wow,
So,
legend.
yeah, I would have audited that class and attended for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't speak for sure on Taylor there. I know it has been taught at other institutions because we hear things. But, no underwater basket waving, but I'm not sure about Tay-Tay on the class.
So anybody have a P or please?
I'll say please.
Say please.
That is please. But Harvard has that.
Oh man.
Dang, that was loud. Why are some of these so loud and some so quiet? Sorry about that.
So back to the sports world. Austin Peay football once had a deaf football player who eventually went to play in the NFL, and at the time became the first deaf player in NFL history. Have you heard about?
Can you
this?
repeat that?
He hasn't heard
Austin-
about it.
Grant hasn't heard.
Have you heard of the Vancouver School of the Deaf?
No.
Neither have
Neither
they.
Yeah. What do you think, Ron?
I actually don't.
It is 100% true.
Oh, well.
It is. It is Peay. Let's go Peay.
That's a cool fact.
It is a cool fact. So, how does he get the signs? I mean, I know how he gets them, but that's a great way to cheat if you're on the other team. Just somebody that
True.
knows
Well, that's why
ASL.
they hold up the big signs.
Oh, that's where that came from.
Cheerios and stuff.
Okay.
Is there Canadian sign
That's the
language?
person on the video camera on the sidelines.
Oh,
All right, this is a good one, and this is one that's dear to us as a podcast. Austin Peay has a professor who was a producer of a 2023 horror comedy called Slaughterhouse about a killer sloth living in a sorority house.
I don't know what you think.
I'm going to say please, because that's outside my genre. Self-admission, I am not a horror film. Not a big scary movie.
That is very much Peay.
Yeah.
That is true.
I still would do a lot.
So yeah,
And apparently, it's a decent movie. You saw
actually
it. It's on Netflix, right?
Anything to look in the sloth down the
Yes.
back.
I think that's where that came from.
All right,
See,
let's
I
go
think-
on. Oh, go ahead, go for it, Grant.
Well, I just want to be predictive, okay? I think when Ryan installs his bidet, that's the noise that he will make when he uses it.
I'll get a bidet with a speaker on it. That way I can put that as the sound when you use it. Oh, yeah. My wife will love it.
Don't tell her.
Oh, yeah. No.
All right, last one here. Baseball was the very first sport to have a team.
I'll say P on that.
I'm going to hedge my bets and say please.
I'll say please
Right.
as well.
You have one?
I believe that is a please. I believe there is a sport that predates baseball.
And you are correct, Ryan. It is please. It's basketball.
Yep.
No.
Basketball is men's and women's basketball.
I would have thought football. I feel like that's usually kind of where.
Football actually started as a club sport, so they don't count the times because there's lots of history where Austin Peay played Fort Campbell.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Wow. Who would usually win that?
that would have been your thrilling 13-6 finals, and it's usually the Governors that pulled that one.
Oh, wow. Not the trained killers. Okay.
Well, thank you for showing us your Austin Peay cred, Brian.
I'll work on the Taylor Swift class. I'll see what we can get done. So.
Yeah, I think that would be. We could all audit that together.
We can make that a part of a graduate program. I'll go back.
You would?
Just for that.
With the Stanley Cup in hand?
If Travis is a guest professor on that. All right. So speaking of athletes, we're talking about Christians in sports, and we find it encouraging to see athletes and others that excel at their craft, but also that have an incredible testimony of what Jesus has done in their life. So just a question for you, Brian, as we get this topic really going. Have you seen any athletes and been encouraged by them who are proclaiming the name of Jesus? And part two would be, what are you seeing maybe at Austin Peay that's been encouraging for you?
I will tell you that my faith and part of my journey of faith included Fellowship of Christian Athletes at the high school level, at the collegiate level as well. I have seen over the last decade, 15 years or so, a reemergence and a larger push with that organization. And that thrills me just because of my involvement from the outside looking in of it. We here locally with Dan Dickerson and his group working with the local community schools and with Austin Peay. That is a great way for student athletes to be involved, to declare their faith without having to, fly a flag and wave a banner to proclaim it. And to me, that is a great start at any level to get that started. My first memory of an athlete showing their faith goes back to an FCA meeting and going back to hearing the story of Bobby Bowden when he was coach at Florida State University. That tells you, and Coach Bowden, of course, is now passed, but hearing his story and hearing his testimony, and that this guy that I watched on television with reverence, thinking he was one of the best on the walk the sidelines and to coach football, but he wasn't afraid to share his faith and wasn't afraid to have that open conversation, whether it be a recruit, a student athlete, a booster, whoever that was. And then, fast forward to present day, I have no doubt in my mind that Tim Tebow is the reason there is a lot of Christian faith out and about. Say what you want about football careers, and that's a different discussion in football skills. Collegiately, one of the best to ever played the game. Professionally, just didn't translate to what the professional game does. But to have the faith and the guts to, even if it is just on an eyeliner and in the eye black, and to put your different verses and to rotate those verses. It's not just John 3:16 that, we're used to showing my age, the old barrel guy at Mile High in Denver, always had John 3:16 across the barrel. But Tebow, could have cost himself money. Let's be honest, with sponsorships and folks backing him, and now in this NIL world, does that, again, another conversation. But I think Tebow getting out and just putting it out there, and this kind of goes back to your conversation, you guys' conversation a couple of weeks ago about the He Gets Us conversation. I think anytime you can introduce the word without shoving it down somebody's throat, it's a great thing. Like you said, I wear my I Am Second band, and people ask me, what does that mean? And I'm glad to tell you that I put myself second, that God and others are first. And that starts a conversation that would never get started in any other way. And it's simple by wearing a wristband. The He Gets Us commercial made people go to a website or have a conversation, or like you guys going through image by image and having those thoughts and having to work through that would have never started in any other way. I made the joke that, or not the joke, but the observation you guys were talking about, who watched that. Can you imagine the guy who's sitting in the sports bar that's about 3/4 of the way lit, and that commercial comes on, and he's probably thinking, he or she may rethink their entire position in life, because of just an image or just a message or just a simple phrase, a .com that came on and made them do that. So I've gone a long way to answer your question, but to me, it was Bobby Bowden. In the modern day, it's Tebow to get out and, again, just to put the message out there, to force people to think, to force people to may not even know what John 3:16 means. If I remember, he put a Philippians verse on his eyes one game. I think it may have been a bowl game, and that was either the number 1 or the number 2 searched topic or word that night on the interwebs. So that's the power that has, and again, just the simplicity of what he's doing. But and you asked about it, Austin Peay. This past year, I have the utmost respect for a young man who is now transferred out with a football coach named Trey Goodman. Trey Goodman was wide receiver for Austin Peay, a very good athlete, a very good receiver. His touchdown celebration was go to the back of the end zone, to hit his knees, pound his chest, and point to the sky. And so first time I saw him do it, which was 2 years ago, I just simply asked him. And he said, that's just my way of showing reverence and appreciation to what, the good Lord has given me to use on a Saturday or Monday through Friday in practice. And I want to let him know that I appreciate what he's done for me. And that was, without fail, that was his touchdown celebration. And all the players around him would run to him. They're ready to celebrate. They're ready to throw him in the air and have fun. But they all waited because they knew what that meant to him. And they knew the meaning of that from him. And so that, to me, was also a way of witnessing to them without ever probably saying a word, or never opening a Bible, or never, going and searching a verse or having that conversation. But that was his way of reaching the subject to everyone around him, and they all appreciated and knew it.
I like that. And then you talked about Tebow as well, who is obviously very good at doing that. Seeing a guy now, Brock Purdy, who's been very vocal about his faith. How difficult is it in your line of work, you get to see this probably, maybe even a little bit more than we do. But how difficult is it for these guys to live out their faith? Or are you seeing that more and more guys are able to do it, and teammates are respecting it?
I'll use a word that's often associated with other topics, but in my day, old guy back in my day, you may have had to be a little more closeted. You couldn't be as out and as open in your faith as you wanted to. I think nowadays, me personally, when I see student athletes and just in general, I think it's easier for them to live it out. I think the support, I go back to 2 football coaches ago at Austin Peay State University, Will Healy. Will did a great job revitalizing this program, put it on the path that it's on now. Will's the coach has always had chapel. Teams always had chapel and meeting. Healy traveled with a pastor, rotated, invited local pastors from different churches around town to come with the football team, either stand on the sidelines on a Saturday. They traveled with us to road games if they were able to, and get, if we knew we were going to get back so they wouldn't take away from their Sunday morning. He's the first one I remember. Scotty Walden, who just left, went to UTEP, had a great 3-year run here. Friday nights when we would travel and go to hotels, there was always a schedule put out of what time team meal was, what time stretch was, what time, and chapel was always Friday night, 7 o'clock, 7 to 8. There was a pastor that traveled. If a pastor didn't travel, it was student athlete led, meaning a student athlete, an 18 to 24, 25-year-old man, was going to stand up in front of his peers and bring the word for an hour and open the discussion. And I've sat in on many of those, whether it be from a pastor or from that student athlete. And it moves you because, again, I, as an 18 to 24, would have never had the guts to stand up and do that in front of a crowd. Never. Now, as I've gotten older and gotten more comfortable in my own skin, I can do that. I can sit here with you all. I can be glad that this is, people are going to watch this hopefully and enjoy and learn something. But to see those guys do that, to see that be a part of a schedule and to be so prominent, and guys would know, hey, 7 to 8, we know where we're going to be. And it's by choice. It's not required. It's not, you don't play on Saturday if you don't go to chapel on Friday night, nothing like that. But you still have 85, 90% participation. And that just blows me away. And again, the more just different avenues that it's become available. And it's not just football coaches, basketball coaches as well. You're traveling, there's a lot of folks that'll travel, or pastors that'll come in and and again, the FCA with Dan and the great job they do, to just getting it out and making it available and knowing there's someone where if you needed a shoulder, if you need a prayer request, if you need to put something in and ask for some help in whatever avenue it is, there's folks that are there for you, not just on the, old man in the stuffy suit behind the podium on the Sunday morning side. They're with you on the plane. They're with you on the bus. They're with you on the sideline. And you get to know them and get that comfortableness with them where you're not afraid to ask for help, ask for a prayer, ask for, a pat on the back if that's what you need, whatever is needed to shepherd you in the right direction.
Yeah, it's so cool to see that in these intense and often high pressure environments. I was a chaplain at West Point for 3 years before I came back to Clarksville, and being around the football team there and seeing a lot of those cadets that were attending chapel, and it's so encouraging to see that, and I think we are seeing it a lot in sports. And so, coming up here on the podcast for our listeners, we're going to continue to talk more on this subject, specifically looking at our culture's fascination with sports and how we as Christians can use sports for the gospel. So this conversation is going to continue, and you, our listeners, hopefully this is a treat for you getting to have Brian here. We're so thankful for that. We're going to talk a little bit more about sports and how can we strategically use it for the gospel, sort of like the He Gets Us campaign we just did. So stick around, and we got some more great stuff coming up next.
Hey, DudeFaxers. This is Grant from the DudeFax podcast, coming to you from my closet. I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you so much for allowing us to do the DudeFax podcast. I don't know who's more blessed, you guys for getting to listen to it or us for getting to record it. It truly feels like a blessing and a fun little community that we've created with you digitally, whatever way that you're listening and however you're interacting with us. Thank you. It's a huge blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it's our birthday as a podcast, but you're part of it. So thank you.
those at Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel, yep.
Yeah.
Have we talked about Cracker Barrel yet?
Josh's favorite hangout spot.
Always full of white dudes.
Where all the crackers hanging.
And the barrels.
The white dudes, we're a bunch of white dudes. And instead of Grant sharing a joke tonight, our special guest, Brian,
All right, Brian.
is prepared, I think, tonight to share that.
I get the honor of taking Grant's spot to get the dad joke in this week. So.
Now, there's a special way to tell these jokes.
Sensually.
This one will not be the long storytelling that Grant is used to. It's more of a joke punchline, and I'm going to give credit to my daughter for helping me get this prepared tonight. So thanks, Lil.
Tell it though like you're feeling it.
And now it's time.
Yeah, there you go.
For the dad joke. The DudeFax podcast. I feel like Jim Nance at the man. Hello, friends. Welcome to the 18th green at Augusta.
That's kind of the feel we're going for here.
So today's dad joke is simply, what's the difference between George Washington, a duck, and a bottle of glue?
What is the difference between George Washington, a duck, and a bottle of glue?
George Washington's face is on a bill. A duck has a bill on its face.
And a bottle of glue has no bill.
The bottle of glue is what everyone gets stuck on.
That's really good because you're anticipating somebody's going to mention that.
It's
And
true.
that's really good. I thought that was the punchline.
Hope I lived
Which
up to it.
reminds... Oh, that was excellent, because that reminded me that, did you know that one of us sounds exactly like an owl?
Who's going to do it?
I didn't say which one because I know where you're going.
I won't give him the satisfaction.
So we're
That was
not
good.
sharing any
That was good.
comments tonight. But if we want any comments, Ethan's like in the other room, right?
Yeah.
He said he might drop in.
Can we get like some live comments?
Should I call him?
Has his feet come in and do a live?
His feet? I don't know.
That's how long ago.
Man,
With you guys for a while.
We appreciate that, man. Let's see if we can.
he is working so hard for that dowry. Little
Yeah, the
does he know.
The
Yeah,
oxen
I have
out
not
the
got
backyard
anything
to
like
trade on.
We'll spoil that when all the paperwork is signed. No dowry. Sorry, Ethan.
Ethan. Hey, we're on the podcast. You're at my house, right?
I am in your house.
You should come up to the studio.
So creepy.
The call is coming from inside the house.
What do you? You're chilling with my dog?
Is that a euphemism?
Well, kick him off your lap and come here for a second.
It is a euphemism.
Oh, he's right there.
Oh, look at this.
Hey, come on in.
Yeah.
So we need a comment, Ethan.
What's up, Eth man?
Just any comment.
Good job.
This is the man that's about to marry my dog.
Let's go pee.
Let's go pee. Hey, there we go. That's good. You have what? Oh. Oh, you're making it.
It's exciting.
Ethan has a surprise for Doug.
Hey, is it for the
Teaser.
Grant, I just want to let you know that you ruined me at work anytime somebody says.
Well, now
Boxer.
I'm all excited.
How are we supposed to transition back?
Well, hey, he talked about our birthday, and Brian bought us some DudeFax or DudeFax Dude Wipes.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dude Wipes, we really would love to promote you on this podcast. We just need you to send us some free stuff.
You don't have to give us money. Just give us Dude Wipes.
So we're a year old.
Pays for itself.
That's right. It does. We've heard. So we're a year old, and next week we are going to be celebrating our birthday during our 52nd episode. And we're wanting you to buy us gifts because that's what you do on birthdays, right? So check out our social. There's links to our Amazon wish list. We have a GoFundMe because a lot of things we want are expensive because we have high taste. So you can just give us cash and we'll buy it. All right. So we'd love for you to celebrate with us and buy us stuff. That's not a transition back into sports, but
So, well, speaking of dude wipes, I think we're going to need them because just before we get into sports, one of the things you always hear when it comes to watching sports, playing sports, athletes who are successful are superstitions. People have sports superstitions, and I've heard some over the years, and I just got to thinking it would be fun to share a few that are just very bizarre. In fact,
I'm sorry. I'm just wondering what the segue was, Jeff. Just wiping.
No, you are going to. Here just a second.
Well, I'll ask you this too, and I know you're going sports specific, but do you have any superstitions in real life now? I will tell you mine.
Yeah.
I don't know how it started.
Yeah, let's do it.
I always have to put my left shoe on first.
Your left shoe on.
why is that?
I have no idea. It's just that's the way it's ingrained in me. Whenever I get dressed, the left shoe goes on first.
I wonder if I do that. I think I put my left shoe on first. I just don't think.
I have no reason. I have no great story behind it. I just I can tell when I go to get dressed and go to the last thing I do put shoes on that I always start on the left side.
So tomorrow, I want you to start on the right side
I can't
and then
do it.
let us know how your day goes.
Literally, like the shoulders lock up, like it's
You just can't do it. Are you shoe sock? I'm sorry, sock shoe sock shoe.
I am sock.
I would love to see somebody go shoe sock.
Ethan, get in here.
I am sock.
Okay, good,
Shoe.
good. Because I think psychos are sock shoe.
So one completely done.
Yeah,
and one
it's-
bare.
Yeah. It's basically a sign of a psychopath. if you do that.
I also put my socks on before I put my pants on. I don't know if anybody else does.
It depends.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
one
It
can do
depends on
pants
the sock
I
type.
feel weird if I put my pants on first and then try to.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I'm like over 30 now, so I pretty much exclusively socks.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Welcome to the club.
It's like a transition you make at some point, right?
Do you remember
So-
that '90s Christian song? It's
Jeff-
we all
Jeff's
still put our
trying so
pants
hard,
on. I know.
You what?
One leg at a time. You remember that song?
No.
I think it was like
90s.
Stephen Curtis Chapman. It's a Christian '90s song that we all still put our pants on one leg at a time. It's talking about how all humanity is the same.
Sounds like
And-
something Stephen Curtis Chapman would have put out.
My
So we
response to hearing that song, I put both legs in at the same time for about a year and a half to say, no, I'm not like
Just to
everyone.
rebel.
Yeah.
Oh, just out of spite.
See, when I hear that, I think Lou Holtz, the famous comedy when Lou Holtz is trying to say they put their pants on one leg at a time like we do. You know, that's my very bad Lou Holtz impersonation, but yeah.
Well, what I was going to
Nice.
say about dude wipes is you might want to get them out because this first superstition comes from a baseball player named Moises Alou, retired now.
Chicago Cub.
The longtime major leaguer. He was the one who was upset because he didn't catch the ball that Bartman
With Bartman,
got.
yes.
Yeah, I remember that. But do you know about his
I do.
superstition?
Yes.
All right.
He wanted to make his hands tougher.
Yeah.
I'll just start there. Yes.
He wanted to make his hands tougher, so he did that by peeing on them. So
Let's go
Yeah.
pee.
I'm unsure of the science behind that.
Yeah.
apparently
acid?
it worked for him.
Yeah.
Ammonia, maybe?
Hey,
yeah.
Is that like good for like drying out your hands?
There's got to be other
What
ways.
was he drinking?
So, like, there's got to be another option for that. Like, rub them in the dirt. You're on a baseball field.
Maybe he peed and then rubbed it.
No,
Maybe
it's
like
mud.
Clay.
Yeah.
Slap a tree during the off season.
All right.
So Grant's our hockey guy here. Grant, have you heard about Bruce Gardner? What he used to do? He was a journeyman
Was
who played
he-
for the Senators and the St. Louis Blues.
If it doesn't
And-
involve urine, no.
It's close. So,
Okay.
Again, dude wipes related. So as a rookie in '96, he was frustrated because he had this massive points drought. And he went to one of his teammates and just asked for advice. And his teammate looked at his hockey stick and said that he was treating it too well. And so he looked at it and kind of thought, well, what am I supposed to do to it? And his teammate said, you should go dunk it in the toilet. So he dunked it in the toilet. He showed it who's boss. And after that, he scored 2 goals the next game. And so his tradition came before every game, he would stick his hockey stick in the toilet and give it a swirly.
So number 2 equal 2. Nice. Makes total sense.
Hopefully flush the toilet.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, what's in the toilet?
Well, if his teammate was Moises Alou, there would be...
It'd be on his hands.
It'd be clean.
But yeah, do you guys have any... I know Brian shared a superstition. You guys have any weird superstitions?
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious. And you remember... Office.
A little too far. Cross the line.
Remember the Bears double doink game when we lost to the Eagles before they went on to win it all? I literally fell out of my... You can ask my wife. I fell out of my chair and just covered my face when he made the first one. Because I said, I guarantee they iced that. We're going to miss it. Because he missed, 16 that season? Mm-hmm. So that season, I just didn't watch any kicks after, I think, his 4th miss of the season. And he missed them all anyway, so I guess I could have just watched them. No, it didn't do anything.
I have a new sports superstition, and it's just the hat that I was wearing the night the Rangers won the World Series. So I'll wear that until they lose while I'm wearing it, and I'll never wear it again.
Never wash it.
Yeah.
Ranger. Baseball is probably the worst with superstitions. Even at the collegiate level, there are so many guys now that still will not wash a shirt or wash a set of sliding shorts or other entities while they're on the street.
The worst one not to wash.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know. Sidney Crosby in the NHL, he still uses the same jock strap that he used in juniors and never washes it.
Oh.
And every time it gets broken, his people just sew it back together and make it work.
I hate to have that job.
So he hasn't grown?
Working a hazmat suit.
His pickle has not needed extra protection.
So I'm a lifelong Red Sox fan, and in 2003, they had a shot to finally win the World Series after 85 years, and they had a lead, and the manager of the Red Sox left Pedro Martinez in too long. And what happened is I'm watching the game. I'm like, yeah, we're doing good. We got this. I had to go number 2. So I went number 2. Came back out. As soon as I came back out, it was like the floodgates opened in the ball game. And the Red Sox started to lose. And so the very next year, 2004, which they eventually went on to win the World Series, came back 3-0 against the Yankees. I would not go number 2 during a game at all. Even if I had to go, I was like, absolutely not. I can't, because as soon as I do, it's over. So that was my...
If your floodgates opened, their floodgates would open.
That's right.
Not to take this in a completely different direction, since you are a Red Sox fan, do you believe in the bloody sock?
I think there's something to it.
Right.
I went to the Hall of Fame a few years ago, got to see the bloody sock. And, I think I can feel it.
It's a little inside baseball for everybody that's not a Red Sox fan, but, had to ask.
As a Cardinals fan, all I have to say is...
Because we beat the Cardinals.
Yeah, with a bloody sock. Yeah.
It's great. One of my last jobs in Chicago is I strung tennis rackets at Sports Authority. And there, I actually met Kurt Schilling shopping. He's an 8-story Sports Authority in downtown Chicago.
I know exactly where it's at, behind the McDonald's that served pizza.
The rock and roll McDonald's.
There you go.
Yeah. And
McDonald's with
the
pizza.
final...
Yes. And they deliver it, too.
Oh. You have a lot of knowledge about this McDonald's.
Yeah. Anything food. Look, do I look like I missed a meal?
Well, it looks like you eat a lot of arena food.
Unfortunately, a lot of nachos, a lot of popcorn, yes.
I love arena.
Actually, Kerry Wood sent his kids, a Chicago pitcher, Kerry Wood, the man. His kids went to a school that I did traffic and security for, which was my last job in Chicago. So we saw him every day. He's the coolest dude. He usually did pick up. Solid guy.
Woody.
Yes, Buzz?
He's on the ball.
Is he?
So it's a weird. I don't get the picture. Hey, pull that off the wall.
Yeah, I
Show
can't
that
see
to the
it.
camera.
Yeah,
The mutant
this
Woody.
is. Yeah, one of my daughters stuck that on the light switch in the room we're in.
I actually think the one that's behind you guys, Josh and Brian, is even better. It's like a Michael Jackson, Justin Bieber mix.
What's a Justice Beaver?
And it
You're about to
says,
find out.
it says, baby. That's just weird. I
So
have
many
weird
jokes I can't
kids.
tell right now.
All right, so we're going to get going to the next part. We're glad that you joined us for the silliness. I think to finish off this segment, we just need a lot of Let's Go Peay chants.
It's a 931, baby.
That's actually me and Josh and Ryan chanting.
Hello?
Happy birthday.
Dude, it's like 3 a.m.
Yeah, I know. Happy birthday, man.
It's not my birthday.
Hello?
Ryan, happy birthday.
Yeah, it's not my birthday.
That is ticklish.
Hey, I'm just playing with my pickle. What's up?
Happy birthday, buddy.
It's not my birthday.
Hey friends, believe it or not, but the DudeFax is one. That's right, it's our birthday, and we're going to celebrate during our 52nd episode on March 11, and we want you to celebrate with us. There's two ways you can do that. One, watch, listen, be a part of the episode. And number two, buy us a gift. That's what you do on birthdays. Come on, man. You can check out our Amazon wish list. We got that information here, and our GoFundMe. There are things that we want to be able to purchase that are going to take the podcast to the next level and improve your listening and watching experience with it. Thanks so much for being such a great partner this last year. We look forward to seeing what we might get from you on our birthday, and we definitely look forward to hanging out with you a whole other year coming up.
And then we all just fell on the floor laughing. It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
Hey, we're back. DudeFax. We are talking about sports. It is big business in the United States. And I want to share a few stats with you, and we're going to continue our discussion. But according to research done by reviews.org, nearly 70% of Americans watch live sports, with many tuning in weekly to watch football, basketball, baseball games. 65% of sports fans watch the NFL on a regular basis. So NFL is obviously the king, brings in almost $20 billion a year. 51% watch the NBA. So half of these fans are watching the NBA. 42% watch Major League Baseball. So there's still people watching baseball. 30% of sports fans watch college football. 25% watch college basketball, and then you've even got others like NASCAR, hockey, UFC, Formula One, and even soccer or football for you Europeans.
Soccer?
That rank up there. So we love our sports. And in addition to the sports that we watch, we as Americans obviously like to play sports, golf, pickleball, running, ultimate frisbee, cycling, softball. We love our sports. So there's no secret there. We know that. We live in this culture. But knowing this, and I want to ask all of us to chip in on this, how do we as Christians navigate our sports-crazed culture and impact it for the gospel? We talked about that a little bit, talking about FCA and like hoops programs, and we can continue that conversation. But how do we impact our culture for the gospel using sports as a
I do have a quick question before we jump into that serious conversation.
Yeah.
Did any of those stats include women's volleyball?
It was like 27th on the list.
Okay. Because I know
Well,
there are some things that, Brian, you don't have to say anything about this because of your job, but I know we've talked about how some women's sports aren't really sports. And I'm just wondering what's on there.
You got a problem with volleyball?
Yeah.
Women's duos
Taste the
volleyball.
biscuit.
Duos beach volleyball is one of my favorite like summer Olympic sports.
We just like
They
to
get so
say
intense,
things
it's
like
crazy.
this to try to raise the anger on TikTok to improve our algorithm.
So we're gonna isolate.
So we like to,
Oh, yeah,
we like,
we'll definitely
we like to say things that are controversial.
Clickbait. Yeah,
Clickbait, yeah.
I can say that there's some serious volleyball being played in this area, and so I'm going to
Oh, it's
respectfully
legit.
disagree.
So women's volleyball is
Yes.
legit sport.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Well, I'm in formerly Pac-12 country, and that's pretty huge out here. I don't know what I'm
Yeah,
in now.
Pac-2 right now.
The Pac-2. Yeah. Go Bees.
So Christians in sports, huh?
Yeah.
I know our pastor said something this Sunday. Were you there, Brian?
Unfortunately, no, sir.
No. Okay. He made a statement
busted.
that
I admitted to it earlier.
Hey,
Yeah, he
Jesus
was-
never went to church. Don't feel bad.
that's right. He went to synagogue. But he said something. He came out just values between values we have and values
He blew
the
him up
kingdom
instead.
has. But he said God doesn't care about football, and what he was saying was just that he was making this point that as a parent is praying for their kid to score the touchdown, the other person's parent is praying that they'll keep the kid from scoring the touchdown. So like, who's praying better, with what happens? But I do think that these, I was talking about earlier, like these are a great avenue. And I know a controversial maybe discussion that people have in churches is a lot about like travel team and travel ball and stuff like that. Like, is that really healthy for kids? Or does it allow kids who are into sports to share their faith if they're believers or their families with other families spending all this time with them? I
Now,
think
by
it's just
travel
one
ball, do you mean when they're holding the basketball and take a few steps?
no,
Oh, okay. 'Cause that's just wrong.
it is wrong. It is wrong.
Okay.
But I think that people can look at things like that on really different ends of the spectrum and think, oh, well, it's good for Christians to be involved in that, or it's not good for Christians to be involved in that.
Sorry, I was trying to do the ding for Grant.
Oh,
Liv Moss.
there it is. I don't know if that's kind of the
bidet.
direction you're kind of thinking about going. But I think that's an interesting conversation as well. A lot of kids involved. A lot of parents have their kids involved in different things like that. Is it better for them to be engaged in every Sunday at church, or is it a good way for the gospel to spread as well?
Well, here locally, there's an organization called G1, and G1 stands for God First, and they sponsor softball teams and baseball teams, and they're travel teams, and they are competitive travel teams. I know a gentleman, Mr. Walker, that used to sponsor some softball tournaments, and on Sunday mornings there was a chapel service before the tournament started. So I mean, getting the word out and introducing it in different ways. So I think it's a tough question, and it's a question that I think you have to know, and a question that we battled with when my daughter was playing travel volleyball.
Real sport.
Yes.
I think it's a real sport. I promise.
Playing travel volleyball, she was dancing and doing competitions.
Men's volleyball is not.
So we were gone on the weekend. So we didn't have, couldn't get to that church home on Sunday morning. But to make sure that we knew that when we were home, that was our Sunday morning routine. And I hate, again, I keep saying I hate things, but the word routine, it was just a practice that's where we were going to be. That was part of the Rives family plan on a Sunday morning, was to go and worship and go have a great lunch and go have family time, however you did it. So, but again, it goes back to what I talked about when I talked faith in action. Maybe that child thinks their best way to show their faith is to show the gifts that God has given them. whether that be on the volleyball court or a baseball field or a basketball court. And they might not know that's how they're honoring and showing faith, but that's a great way to introduce them to the word and introduce them to where those skills come from, without shoving King James version down their throat, or introducing it in a different way to make them think and get the wheels turning.
I think in that regard, it's with church. It's very important to note that the church is a people. It's not a place that you go to. So I think that if we find ourselves not able to go to church in the places that we are, we can use that as an opportunity to share our faith and to bring others who might not come to church, might not see the church on a regular basis, give them a chance and opportunity to experience that through you and your belief and your faith. I personally, I didn't play any sports that took me away on weekends a lot. If it wasn't like a Saturday and I come back from church, but I was in Boy Scouts and we did camp out regularly, and I was gone Sundays a lot for that type of stuff. And my experience through that was that on Sundays when we'd get up and have breakfast and do that, I would usually do something with the younger scouts that I was with and do some sort of like Bible study or like, a verse reading, just some prayer time, just something to kind of substitute for me not being able to be at church. And that was able to reach a lot of young, boys and scouts that their families didn't go to church. And that gave them an experience and a avenue to that they never had.
But Ryan, a scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and what?
Reverend.
Oh, wow, you're just doing your job. Here, listen to this, though, because I think a lot of that argument comes down to Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25, right? It's not forsaking the assembly, right? What's fascinating is there is the, right? Because, like, it's controversial. I'm a pastor, but when I'm on vacation, I don't feel like I have to find a church on a Sunday to go to.
Your mom goes to college.
Because we're not commanded to regularly attend church. We're commanded to not forsake our assembly. And there's an article there, the assembly. That's not my assembly. I'm not forsaking mine. I'm taking a break from mine.
Well, that makes me flash back to, as a younger man, I had a pastor, and again, in the Methodist church, so we rotated, had a lot of exposure. But he would start a prayer with wherever two or more shall gather in his name. So again, it never said wherever two or more shall gather in a certain structure at a certain address with a certain cross on the front and had hymnals in the chair you were sitting in. It's wherever two or more shall gather in his name. Again, on a football Friday, that may be in the ballroom of the Hilton Hotel. On a softball Sunday morning, it may be outside the dugouts. It's not about the structure and the building. It's about the reason and the message and again, the exposure to force you to think and force you to understand that there is a higher power and a higher calling with what you're doing.
So I think that question too, to agree, but to maybe focus it a little bit on the heart. Like it's all about the heart. If people are using facts, like my snarky Jesus never went to church, to justify their not committing to an assembly of believers, then I think their heart will expose itself. However, if it's a committed believer who is committed to making a difference for the Lord and sees it as an opportunity for missions, to engage God's world that He's placed them within, the unique audience that they have that we don't, or whatever, if that's the heart, yeah, great, go for it. So I feel like it could be often a justification for just not having an assembly. People that'll call you to Christ-likeness. And I don't know. I did a tour of First Baptist of New Orleans after Katrina when we were doing some disaster relief stuff down there. And the guy was so proud that, yeah, Peyton and Eli are technically members. And we haven't seen them in a while, was the joke he made. Like, yeah.
Hey,
you
were the... they're busy on Sundays. You were the intern for the pastor that baptized them.
Yeah, I know. And he would never give me their numbers. I love you, Roger, I guess.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was just going to say, we see this a lot in the Army, too, because obviously we have field exercises, deployments, and things like that, and we're sometimes the mission calls for us to be specifically engaged on something on Sunday. And we as chaplains, that's part of the challenge and even the creativity that we have, the options that we have to be able to gather God's people sometimes on a Wednesday afternoon or sometimes on a Tuesday morning or Friday afternoon or whatever it may be. And honestly, some of the sweetest worship times have been in some of those just sort of non-traditional church gathering times, but it is the assembly just coming together and just worshiping. But absolutely concur with what you are saying, Grant, because I think we can look at that as an easy out and an excuse not to gather versus, hey, my heart is still that I want to be, I don't want to forsake the assembly. I want to be with God's people. But yet I also have this opportunity that God has given me through sports or whatever to be the light in, sort of a missional way and in a place where sometimes I'm engaged.
Well, and that just takes a lot of intentionality. So if we're thinking, kids that are in travel ball, I think there's a lot of pressure or onus responsibility on the parent then to, if they are out, if they are away, make sure that if there's an opportunity, we're going to be a part of that, or even leading your own family in some sort of time in prayer in the Bible or something, just to keep that rhythm going. Like you said, you would have that rhythm at your house when you're, and so keeping that rhythm going if you're out on the field on a weekend. But then maybe even take this a step further and then ask the question, well, what about missing church to go watch a sporting event? Like, maybe it's one thing if you're playing in it and you have a responsibility, but is that something?
Someone gives you free flight tickets.
You better go. I think we talked about that before, that like if I was given some, I'd go. Like I'd take a Sunday off and roll up to the stadium.
There's a great story about Whitey Herzog, who was the manager of the Cardinals for years in the 80s, and he said that he loved his church between November and February. And then he had baseball, and he told his pastor, basically, I'll see you at Halloween. Basically, because he knew he was busy all summer. But you have some requirements. Like you said, in a military town, growing up here and realizing those, there's a lot of time that faith presented itself, and it was never within a church wall. It was going to a Gold Star family to take dinners or take the meal train or, rake leaves for the lady whose husband was deployed, and doing those kind of acts that as a kid, I knew what we were doing because we were doing it through the church, but I never really realized what it meant until maturity kicked in, and I understood later on what those acts actually meant and what we were actually doing and how we were showing God's love at that point.
Yeah, and it's key that we take teachable moments, and that's one of the things I love about sports, and especially when it's with kids, is I've had the opportunity to be involved. We talked about Hildale Hoops earlier, and I've coached a couple years at Hildale Hoops, and it is like herding kittens at times. But the neat thing is we're encouraged to do devotions with the kids every single practice, and of course, do devotions at the games, and being able to use sports illustrations just seems to be such a natural tie-in. And really an easy way to, I think, share the gospel. And that's what I love about Paul. You frequently read Paul writing, talking about a race and using sports illustrations. And I absolutely love it.
Is that what you had pulled up?
I've been waiting for that. I've been thinking about Jeff all day, just thinking about this, because Jeff's a runner. If you don't follow him on Instagram, The Running Chap. Let's plug Jeff a little bit. Oh, is that playing words?
Maybe.
No, he just brings chapstick with him. Yeah. People think it's chapstick. It's actually a friction cream. For nips.
That's real.
That is real. But during Paul's day and in Roman times, there were sports, and one of them was running. A lot of people who are uninformed don't view running as a sport unless it's Olympic season, when they want our runners to crush the other runners. Mm-hmm. But 1 Corinthians 9, do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an unperishable wreath. So I do not run aimlessly, I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body to keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. So I love that he was engaging in something that his world loved too, sports, and he was using it to teach about eternal things. It's pretty cool because I think this is different in our cultures, right? Because you guys are all in the South. In fact, you're all in the same room in the South. And this is one of the reasons my eldest daughter's name's Soren. Soren Kierkegaard wrote about nominalism and how just because my hand's in a cookie jar doesn't mean my hand is a cookie. Just because you're in America doesn't mean you're a Christian. Just because you're in the South doesn't mean you're a Christian. Just because your daddy was a believer and his daddy was a believer and his daddy was a member of the founding church that planted all the other churches in your town doesn't mean you're a believer. So in that context, though, there are benefits of, like, you can put a cross outside a barbecue joint in Clarksville and probably receive certain patronage because you have a cross outside of your business still. Russell Wilson, when he started taking stances for his faith, it's great. I mean, he reached way more people than I ever will be able to. But I got a lot of negative feedback in my region. So I like the idea of consider the cost. I think Tebow hit at just the right time in our culture. This is before all the things about his team came out that there's so many documentaries about right now, but he hit at just the right time where people were searching for that Christian hero. He was from the right part of the country where that could really take off and spread, and praise God for his testimony. I think that's awesome. But I think it's all about the heart, right? There are people who want to capitalize on their faith in Jesus. And that is possible. They can flicker. But there are also people that do it at their expense. I mean, imagine the cost of an Egyptian Olympian kneeling before a race and genuflecting or crossing himself. I just think about that. So the Lord sees the heart. Jesus talks about that. Man looks to the outside. God sees the heart. I think that's really important. I think there are a lot of athletes who, the parable that Jesus tells of the tax collector and the Pharisee praising, oh, praise the Lord that I'm not like this man. And, I tithe and I do this and I do that. And the tax collector saying, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. That was his whole prayer. He didn't even have the confidence to look to the heavens. And Jesus says that he was the one that walked away justified. So I personally love the grind. And this is me being a Bears fan. I just don't like the guy. We're watching the new season of the Formula One documentary, Race to Survive or Drive to Survive. And Danica Patrick's on it. I didn't like it because, number one, she was a NASCAR driver. But number two, she dated Aaron Rodgers. I hate that dude. But Aaron Rodgers wrote a book about his faith in Jesus after they won the Super Bowl. He wrote a book about his faith in Jesus. And it's sold at Moody's bookstore in downtown Chicago on Chicago Ave. I remember being in our bookstore and to hear him talk about how his spiritual journey has now taken him far away, and he's renouncing a lot of things that he was very firm on. So this is very long-winded, but there's some people that I really look up to who kind of leave the clout. I think about Billy Sunday, one of the most popular baseball players of his day, coming to know the Lord because of a guy that D.L. Moody led to the Lord, and then a couple generations later, a guy that Billy Sunday led to the Lord leads Billy Graham to the Lord. I like the people that actually take a risk, kind of faith without works, right? Faith without works is dead, James. People who leave it. The cost of discipleship shows, not I'm going to genuflect to sell my book. I'm not going to let the cross dangle out of my jersey to be able to speak at Lifeway events, whatever. So it's so hard. It's so hard not to judge on the outward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah, all those Lifeway
tough.
events.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, Grant, and I think you kind of really wrapped a bow on what we wanted to get at in this conversation, and it's encouraging to see believers who speak with a genuine heart. And obviously, we know we've all seen the celebrities and the musicians that get up and they thank God for their explicit rap album winning like album of the year, and we kind of laugh at it, but to see
go home to their concubines
to see guys who it's genuine and it's real, and to even have opportunity to teach that to kids at a young age, what an opportunity we have with sports. But we do have a serious question that we really need to get to wrap up our podcast, and this is for Brian.
Uh-oh.
No
And
pressure.
we also hope that our boy Seco is listening. Who is the true
Seco.
GOAT? Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Jordan, there's not a conversation.
Yeah.
There
Correct answer.
is
Yeah.
not there's not LeBron
Peay.
if there's not a Michael.
That's right.
And that's it. And that is the easiest way to put it. There's no one. You take Michael out of the equation, then everybody's trying to be Magic or Larry, and then that conversation goes on. But no, it's 23.
Jesus,
red,
Juke.
red, white, and black 23 without a doubt.
That's right.
We can get into those. So I'll start the. You want clickbait? I am a true believer that Michael Jordan left the NBA because he was going to be suspended for gambling. That's why he played baseball, but then came back. I'll put that out there. So there's something to throw out there, but no, it's Jordan without a doubt.
We'll definitely share that.
Yeah.
We're going to share that and tag Seco.
Seco. Yeah.
Hi, Seco.
You don't have any argument here. We are all Jordan. And, but we have a good, fun friend on TikTok who is a huge LeBron guy. And he likes to throw LeBron stats.
LeBron, I'm not going to lie to you. LeBron to me is 4.
Oh, yeah? Who's 2?
So I would put Magic at 2. I would put Oscar Robertson at 3. And then I would put LeBron.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's how I was raised. I knew basketball old school. The Big O from Cincinnati. If you look at his numbers and look at the averaging triple doubles for consecutive years, everybody gives Russell Westbrook that credit, but it was the Big O that started that. So sorry, LeBron.
Westbrook.
You know what LeBron is also not all the time, obviously there's some exceptions, but if there's a championship win, he's probably not involved.
Well,
he's losing to Dirk.
LeBron has lost finals. Michael never lost a final.
Exactly.
You think about them, Apple Seco?
We can debate all day long if you want.
But there is no debate.
No, there's not.
LeBron has never played minor league baseball.
Oh, there you go. That's it.
In Nashville.
Bring it in, Barry.
He came and visited.
I actually sat in the third base side and watched one of those games. That's can't get my money back for that. But again, I think there's a reason why he played baseball. But we can talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be another episode.
Jordan.
Where does
go.
Kobe come on your list?
He's probably 5.
Okay.
You start splitting hairs really with Kobe, and there's Lakers fans that would argue between Kobe and LeBron. So
Sure.
But I'd put Kobe at 5. The reason I think Kobe's a little farther down the list is Kobe did not have a back to the basket game. Outside 10 foot and shooting, there's you're going to argue that he's one of the best. But what made Michael different is Michael could back you down and put you on the post. Michael could defend the post. Kobe couldn't go. Kobe couldn't pull a Lambeer out of the box. Michael could. Kobe couldn't battle Karl Malone on the box. Michael could. It's a different era, but that's where I put Kobe a little farther.
And I don't know if this can get on camera, but where does this guy fit on your list?
Bird, he's top 10. If I didn't come prepared with my laminated list, but he's top 10 for sure. The hick from French Lick is definitely one of the best to ever take the hardwood for sure.
For all of our audio listeners, Jeff just showed us a picture of his tattoo on the lower of his back
Right.
of Muppet Babies and Larry Bird.
His bird stamp.
Yeah. That'd be a great name.
Nice.
That's right. And I don't even have the tattoo does not actually have the mustache, it's just back hair.
Grown perfectly in the right spot.
I shaved it.
Go ahead.
No,
I was going to
exquisite.
say, wasn't it in recent news? Wasn't Pippen saying like in the
Oh.
press that he was saying people should stop comparing LeBron to Jordan? That he was the first LeBron.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole
like, man.
documentary with the Last Dance. Pippen did not look well in that.
No.
Pippen
Now,
doesn't look well because of his
Jordan's-
wrinkly up head.
Jordan's son is now.
Wait, what?
Pippen's ex-wife, yes.
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh.
Michael Jordan's still getting the wins.
TMZ, yes.
Well, the joke is another Jordan gets another ring.
Yeah.
Hey, got you.
Hey.
A little too far. Across the
Oh,
line.
that was the wrong one. It was supposed to
Yeah.
be.
A little too far.
No.
Across the line.
Change. It does work. It's coming. There you go.
Worth the
Well, we are wrapping up this conversation. We thank you so much for listening, Brian. Thank you for being
Yeah, man.
Our
Thanks for
honor to
coming
be with
on.
you guys. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Not blowing smoke, not because I'm in the room. Thank you for spreading the word and making people think without having to, like I said, have a hymnal in front of them sitting in a church pew. And sometimes you guys don't realize the reach and the touch that you may have in the community. So thank you all for the invite and thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much, sir.
And even
You're a
the
gentleman and a scholar.
And the well, Brian, you've classed up the podcast, so thank you.
Yes,
for
we appreciate it.
yeah.
Much needed.
So you're gonna promote this on Gov's Radio, right?
Every home game.
It almost feels like the disclaimer.
Bag of wolves.
That's an opinion is expressed in this podcast.
are not the opinions of Austin Peay. That's right. But hey, we love Austin Peay.
Yes.
It's the local team, except for Grant. But he's got a Peay hat, which is great.
And he's been to the
He's been to the Peay. Yeah, he's chanted "Let's go Peay."
I
We
paid
should
the
have
Peay
posted
quite a bit of
picture of
money.
him in body paint from the game the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might get filtered out though.
There you go.
YouTube
Yeah.
might censor it.
The
Yeah,
people
thanks
was
so
smaller.
much for coming
That
on.
is honor.
I think we should end with the Let's Go.
It's a 9-3-1, baby.
I thought Grant was having a seizure.
We out.